when I actually hit the top producer situation that you mentioned earlier, right before that, I had a breakdown. Man, I legitimately remember, it's crazy. I legitimately remember sitting in the car with my girlfriend, right? And this is when everyone else is telling me to quit. And I'm like, nah, I'm not going to quit. But for the first time in my career, I broke down and I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I can't do this no more. I want to quit, right? I remember sitting there and actually like breaking into tears and everything over the business. I'm just like, I'm giving up. I can't do it no more, right? What's funny is she didn't let me, right? She held me down. And then it's like, after that was when my business really took off. That's when that's when it happens every time. It's like once you hit that bottom, that hole that you're ready to quit and you're done. It's God blesses you. God takes care of you. You know what I mean? Things happen.
Yo, what's goody? What's goody? Latrell in a hoodie, and welcome to another episode of the Brother Next Door podcast, where we talk about finance, personal development, and skills to get you further in life through actionable steps and my own personal experience. In this episode, we have a special guest. We have Angelo Chavez in the building.
Yo, nice to meet y'all.
What is going on, man?
What's up, man?
Tell the people about yourself, man.
So my name's Angelo. I'm originally from New Mexico. I was born and raised out there. I moved out to Dallas about 2 years ago. So I do real estate. So I'm a real estate agent. I plan to get into the investing side within my next couple of years. That's kind of what sparked my interest into real estate. So it's kind of it. And I've been doing it about 2 years. I'm full-time with it now. So enjoying the ride.
Okay, cool. And he's been very humble. I did a little bit of research. I saw that he was a top producer where he's working at, and so he's definitely doing the thing. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, yeah.
He's doing the thing. He's very humble, and we're very appreciative of that. But I had to throw that out there. I had to give kudos when kudos is definitely deserved. Part-time, he coaches for the soccer team, correct, for the church?
Yeah, so I coach for OCC's kids soccer team. So I coach 5th grade boys, and then I was doing 1st grade girls. Now I'm doing 2nd grade boys. They just started up a squad, so
okay,
yeah,
cool.
I do that.
So you out here doing the Lord's work. You out here trying to build a legacy for yourself. So that's definitely dope that you're doing that for the community, bro.
Yeah, most definitely. So it's cool. I enjoy it. I like being able to give back. I feel like the most impactful people in my life have always been coaches too. So that's why it means so much to me doing things like that, coaching. So
definitely, I think some of the most influential people in my life were my coaches from high school, middle school, high school, and up. So
yeah, most definitely. My my high school coach changed my entire trajectory of life. Like changed the entire way that I think about things. Just kind of inspired me to just be more than what I thought I was. So it's just crazy now, and seeing how that carries into me and who I am now, and how I carry myself, and just perseverance, all that stuff. Man, it makes a difference. So it's always nice to try and give back, try and recreate that.
That's dope, bro. That's definitely dope. So let's start from the beginning. Before getting into real estate, where were you before real estate?
So out of 2018, I graduated high school, New Mexico, and then I moved to Florida. I played football for a JUCO over there for a little while. So I did that for about a year and a half. My second year, I had torn my ACL. So I ended up back home after that, and then I actually moved out. My brother was working sales for a furniture store.
Okay.
So I moved out to Oklahoma City. I started sales in Oklahoma City. And then in Oklahoma City, my brother got a position to run 2 stores, and I was supposed to be the next man up on this little furniture store thing. So I did sales for that year and a half, and then we moved to Lubbock. So Lubbock, he ran the 2 stores. I was next man up, and then ended up leaving there. So I left there, and I actually, while I was out there, I got my real estate license.
Okay.
And when I got my license in Lubbock, I was caught because I knew I wanted to do real estate, but I don't want to do it in Lubbock. Lubbock was not the spot for me. It was just not somewhere I enjoyed. So I was like, if I'm going to start a business and I'm going to do it somewhere, need to do it somewhere that's bigger, that's growing, somewhere that has a
Mm,
lot of people, right? So
okay.
I from there I had visited Dallas a few times. I had 2 or 3 friends out here, and they convinced me to move. So
Okay.
moved out here. I it's kind of crazy. Moved out here, and I had just enough. Like from the moment I quit, right? So the moment I left the furniture store, I probably had enough to get my security deposit, just get my way here. So I
Yeah.
got here. My initial plan was to just jump right into real estate. What I didn't understand was all the extra business expenses that come with it, right?
Yeah.
So you don't expect those things till you really start to get into it. And then when you're in real estate, there's a lot of little fees that you pay for the services and just access to all the data and stuff like that. So wasn't expecting it. Did sales for my first 4 or 5 months out here, and then kind of jumped into real estate
Sheesh.
from there. So
So what did you learn from that sales position that transferred over? I mean, obviously sales, but like, you have anything more specific that transferred directly over to real estate?
yeah, so I would say the biggest thing I learned was customer service. I think
Mm,
that's always carried with me no matter where I worked, right? When I worked at Sonic and I mean, in high school working at Sonic, being a car hop, one thing I've always understood is if you treat people correctly, they will help you out, right? People
yeah.
will give you a tip. People will they reward that, right? People love helping people who help them, right? So it's really about your attitude. So when I worked in sales, I was never the funny thing was is I was never good at actually selling, right?
Mm,
It's never good at selling. I was just good at being able to help people, right? If you had a need, I was able to help you, right? So it was kind of that aspect of it. That's actually the one thing that helped me with jumping into real estate was real estate allowed me to do the customer service part, but I don't have the quotas and all the other little things that you have when you're in sales, right? When I was in furniture, the thing that used to kill me was when they'd want me to sell a certain product,
mm,
right? And I didn't believe in the product, and it was just like, man, this is not my thing, right?
yeah.
So it would get a little weird. So real estate allowed me to I don't have those pressures,
Yeah.
right? So I'm selling houses, but I can sell any house, right? So you don't like this house, let's go look at another one, right?
Yeah.
I don't have to feel upset because you want to go look at another furniture store, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I really liked. But to answer your question, customer service is the biggest thing. I understood that. And I think that carries with my business now that if you care about people and you actually genuinely care about what they need, they will help you.
Yeah.
They will help you. It comes in return. It comes back. It always comes back.
It's funny. I've said that multiple times on this
Yeah.
podcast. It's like I personally feel, and my only sales experience is personal or network marketing,
Right.
network marketing. But like, if you, like the saying goes, if you help enough people get what they want, you can have what you want.
Most
And
definitely.
so it's just like all a good salesman is a good salesman.
Right.
Keyword is a good salesman is solving people's problems, helping people get to the solution that they're looking for.
For
And
sure.
so, like, yeah, you may not be good at persuading people, which you shouldn't want to persuade people. Like,
Right.
if they don't want the couch
Right.
and you don't even like selling the couch, why
Yeah.
why
It's like,
why selling the couch?
yeah.
But just solving people's problems. So I like that you align with that thought as well.
Yeah.
So that was really good. Now going into because I go over time all the time, so I'm gonna
Right.
try to stick to the program today, and we'll try to get
Sure.
through all the information. Going into real estate. So what was the process? I like to do two sides of everything. I like to talk about your side of it, how
Okay.
you got started, what the process was for people who want to become a real estate agent,
Right.
and then I also want to get on the other side and talk about, okay, how do I buy a house?
Right.
What is the process for me as a buyer? And so let's start on your side. What was the process? What were some of these fees that you were paying? Let's go there.
So to start as a real estate agent, there's a couple different options. You could take your test online, which a lot of people do. I'm not a online learner. I can't get myself to sit there and sit through a course online through a Zoom, right?
Yeah.
So you could do that. That's always the more affordable option. I think it's less than $1,000. So it's pretty smooth. I did a hybrid course. I think it was like 1,500 when I did it at the time. It was 1 week in person, and then
Hmm.
you kind of self-paced and take your test, right? So they give you all the resources, they lay it out for you. You take your test. There's 2 tests you have to pass. There's a national and your state. State specific, it's just laws and stuff, and then national is just a broad overview of how to do real estate.
Okay.
So you do that once you get your license, right? That's the first step. So you get your license. Once you got your license, now you're on to the next step, which is finding a company to work for, or not necessarily work for, but finding a company to work under that meets your specific situation, and then building a business. Okay. Then going from there. So
cool. So would that be considered a broker? That person
okay. Exactly. Yeah. So different brokers offer, as a real estate agent, different brokers offer different things, right? Some brokers might give you 100% of your commission, but it's a cloud brokerage. So you don't get no resources, you don't get the facilities, you don't get people to speak to. Everything's like a call center kind of feel, right? Then you have some that'll take 50%, but they give you everything, right? Then you have bigger brokerages where there's 1,000 agents, and then you have smaller brokerages where there's 10, right? When I first started, the funny part is I had a bad stigma against big brokerages. I didn't want to be just a number in a company, right? So there's certain companies that when you join their company, their whole business structure is just to get you to pay that monthly payment, right? So they're feeding off the fees, not your performance, right? So it's not a I eat we eat thing. It's like, yeah, you're just going to sit here, your license is going to be active, I'm going to get paid, right? Gotcha. So that was my stigma against those. I actually joined a smaller brokerage, and man, I got a great mentor. So it's the biggest thing I would say if you do plan on getting into real estate, mentorship's the most important thing. And I think that's with business in general, right? That's just life. Yeah. You always want someone who's done it before you, that understands you and that actually does it, same thing we just said, just does it to help you, that's in it to help you. They're not in it for money. They're not in it for any of that. They want to help somebody because when they first started, somebody helped them. Yes. Somebody gave them free game. So, yeah.
1,000%. And talking about, joining a brokerage, talking about, not being a number, I feel like, or let me ask you this. Do you feel like real estate agents are entrepreneurs in a sense?
Most yes and no. Okay. I would say we're definitely entrepreneurs because of everything we do, right? Yeah. It's the same thing as starting a business. We handle marketing, we handle sales, we handle keeping up with our clients, we handle customer satisfaction, right? If a client's upset, they're going to call you directly, right? Yeah. You have to cool them down, you have to talk to them, right? So you're handling everything. So as far as that stuff, yes, but I would say as far as the risk, no. Okay. Right? So I don't bear the risk if somebody wants to sue me, right? My company doesn't fall apart, right? Gotcha. I have a broker above me who handles those things, right? Okay. At the end of the day, if I'm not successful in real estate, it's not like I just invested $50,000 and now I got a $50,000 loan under my name, right? It's like, it's a piece by piece thing, right? So like if I'm burning up my monthly payment and my monthly fees that I'm paying, that's my choice. I don't have to keep paying that. It's just like if you want to do the business, you do. So I feel like it's still entrepreneurship. Yeah, it's just a little, in my opinion, it's a little less risk.
Got you. Cool. And then moving on. So does the real estate agent do it all? Are you the buying agent, the closing agent? Are you all that, or are there are those separate roles for separate people?
Yeah, so there's 2 separate sides to a transaction, right? There's the seller's side and then there's the buyer's side, right? So majority of the time, most transactions are going to have a buyer with a buyer's agent, right? And you're going to have a seller with a seller's agent, right? The seller's agent's job is to get that seller the most money out of their house, right? Gotcha. Their house is worth $950. Their goal is to try and get $970, $960, right? They're trying to increase the amount of money that person makes. The buyer end, you're trying to protect that buyer, right? Exactly. You're trying to make sure that they don't spend $500,000 on a house that when they move into it 6 months later, they're going to spend $40K on a fix for, foundation or things like that, right? Yeah. So there's 2 different sides to it and 2 different roles. The good thing with a buyer's agent that a lot of people don't know is a buyer's agent's free. Yeah. You don't pay a buyer's agent, right? And a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people have this stigma that if you hire a real estate agent, you got to cough up $15,000, $20,000 on top of what you just saved for your house. It's not always the case. Yeah. So
Okay. Cool. And before I ask this question, now let's go ahead and switch over to the other side as far as getting a home.
yeah,
So, first time home buyer, I'm looking to buy a home, just graduated college. What should
right,
I do? Should I go to you? Hey, I just got this, I don't know what the average $50,000, $50,000 a year job.
right.
Can I get a house?
So first, you're going to want to reach out to somebody who's an expert, right? You can reach out to a lender, you can reach out to a real estate agent, just somebody that does this stuff consistently,
Yeah.
right? If you were reaching out to me, my thing would be is I would get you in touch with the lender, right?
Okay.
Lenders are going to walk you through different requirements, right? So when you're buying a house for the first time, there's simple requirements. Usually, like an FHA is a first-time home buyer loan, right?
Yep.
So that's going to be 3 to 5% down. Your minimum credit score on an FHA can be 580, I think, and then you have to have it's 580 to 620,
Okay.
and then you have to have at least 2 years of consistent income in the same field, right?
Okay.
So say you just got that job, they might tell you that you might have to wait a little bit. Sometimes they'll tell you that you are okay because you were working in the customer service industry, right? Or sometimes there's different ways where you can do different loans, right? There's bank statement loans where they can look at your bank statements and see how much you had coming in and out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of different factors that weigh into it. Debt to income is a big thing, right?
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you don't have $2,000 in car payments and student loans, and now
Yeah.
you're getting into a house, right? So the first step would be reaching out to an expert and then getting in touch with a lender and seeing if you're qualified for it, right?
Okay.
The funny thing with that too, the stigma with buying a house is it's like they're unaffordable or they're unreachable. A lot of
Yes.
people think of them as they're so hard to get. A lot of the times there's ways around it, man. You can get down payment assistance. You can get you can get a cosigner to help with the things. It's just I think the biggest thing is making sure that you can afford your monthly payment,
Yeah.
right? Because that's the biggest thing. You don't want to get into an apartment or a house that you're 3,000, 3,500, and you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You're pinching to make it by. So uh knowing that you can afford your monthly payment is probably the most important part. The down payment assistance, all that stuff, man, those things, those programs that they have set up really are designed to help first-time home buyers get into a home.
Okay.
Down payment assistance, for example, if you were to get that, sometimes there's forgivable ones, right? You make 3 years worth of payments, and they'll set you a requirement: don't miss a payment for 3 years, and that whole down payment assistance gets wiped, right?
Oh, okay.
So 20 grand down payment, you do that, right? Some people, even with that, you figure if I was buying a house and I didn't have the down payment, you figure they put up that 20 grand, you're spending an extra 50, 75 a month, but you can already afford it. It still puts you in a good position, right? And you still own a house and an asset that's appreciating, right? You still own something that's going to get you there. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay. So in a perfect world where you have enough money, you can afford the down payment, would you advise people to own a house over renting? Whether they're renting a house, renting an apartment, whatever the
Mhm.
case may be, they have the option.
Right.
They're in Dallas. Hey, I can live in this high rise for a couple thousand a month, or I could get this house.
Right.
What's
I,
your take?
So, in my opinion, I think if you can afford the monthly payment, it's always better to buy, right?
Okay.
And people are like, "Yeah, it's whatever your realtor says." Of course, of course, right? But it in a real sense, it is because if you're spending $2 grand a month renting this house, or in Dallas especially,
Yeah.
apartments, you get a 1 bedroom apartment, you're spending 1,800 for a studio that's like
The studio.
500 square feet. It's
No
tiny.
privacy.
No
No
privacy at all.
privacy.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. You're in a closet thing here, right? So it's like it's in a investment perspective, right? You're spending $2 grand a month, and you spend that over a year, right?
Yeah.
You're spending 24 grand just over that year. Can you imagine if you were able to, besides the interest, right? So let's remove interest out of the equation. Just even being able to pay down a certain amount of a house, or if you were to put 24 grand towards a house, right? Towards a house payment, man, 3 years from now, that house is going to be worth, if it's 300,000, it's going to be worth 330,000, right?
Okay.
So homes appreciate in a strong market like DFW's 3% probably every year. So if your home is going up 3% every year and you stay in that home 5 years, right? You have 50K in equity there, and that's not including the amount that you've paid down too, right? The amount that of principal that you've paid down. So man, it's always smarter. It is smarter to buy rather than rent, but under 2 conditions. If you can afford your monthly payment, right? That's always the most important part. So don't get scared of interest rates. Don't get scared of market conditions. If those monthly payments can fit where you are and your position is, and you can comfortably pay that amount, then go with it, right?
Okay.
2, if you're going to stay in it for probably about 3 to 5 years. You don't want to buy a house that you're going to move out in a year, because then when you pay realtor fees and when you're selling the home, it doesn't even out that fast. It's a long-term investment, right?
Gotcha.
So, and then, I mean, there's always other ways you can buy a home. I have a client now who buys a home every year, right? Started with an FHA loan. Yeah, started with an FHA loan, bought the home. Year 2, went and took out another FHA loan, turned his home into a rental, right?
Yeah.
The funny part is he did this twice, right? Bought another home, turned the home into a rental. The 2 properties, one of them actually he was losing money on.
Yeah.
So he was losing $200-300 a month on, right? But the second one, once he refinanced it when COVID and everything hit, he was making $1,200 off that one house, right? Just $1,200 in passive income. So that one house is paying that, and it's also paying a portion of this rent, right? So, and that's all off just buy and then buy and then buy, right? There's so many strategies just to break into it. That's why I love real estate, is because it's one of those markets that it's been there, it's tried and true. It's an investment method that works, right? Real estate does not go down. If you look at it, it's always trended up. So
cool. So before we go back, or before we talk about investing, because that's what I like to talk about.
Right.
I want to give people the cutthroat. This is what you need to do. Obviously, it depends on your situation, of course, but from my understanding, you want to buy a house. At least there's some workarounds, but at least, try to work at the same job for 2 years.
For sure.
Go talk to a professional about, a lending professional. Make sure that you qualify for this, right?
Definitely.
And then go to you, or go to a realtor and have that conversation with them.
Right.
All right. And I remember you're saying the buying agent, his job is to protect the customer, correct?
Definitely.
So I know when it comes to buying a house that you have to, what's it called? Get it, not appraised, but inspection.
Yeah.
Have to get it inspected. So does the buying agent take care of all that stuff, or do you as the customer need to look at that?
Yeah, and so that's the thing with a realtor, right? When you're picking out a realtor, make sure you know someone who knows what they're doing, for one, right? Different people need different things. So for me as a realtor, like I said, I'm into the investment side, right? So that's always the side that kind of gets me. When I'm walking through a house, I'm not the realtor that's going to tell you that these walls are gray and that this countertop, I'm not a selling sunset type of realtor, right? I'm not the guy that's going to walk through and say this countertop's beautiful, and because you can see all that stuff, right? So what I do is I let my clients look at that stuff, and as I'm walking through the house, I'm looking for cracks in the walls that show signs of foundation damage, right? I'm looking at the dates on the HVAC units, right? I'm looking at the roof to see if I see any lifting shingles or things like that, right? My job with the way that I protect my clients is I'm looking for all the big ticket items. You can look at if this house is pretty or not, right?
Yeah.
My job is I'm going to look for the big ticket items. I'm going to make sure that when you move into this house, you're not going to have no surprised expense, right? Nothing that we were inspecting. Now, keep in mind, I'm not an inspector, right? So they do always hire an inspector after me, but it's always nice to have that knowledge and have that peace of mind coming into the house before we even get under contract, right?
Yeah.
We know what we're coming into. We know that we're expecting foundation issues, or we know that we're expecting to replace windows, or a $5,000 cost here, or this and that, right? So A good buyer's agent is gonna know that stuff. I'll give you a list of some of the things a good buyer's agent would do. They would be able to protect you as far as knowing what's going to be a big ticket item. They will navigate the transaction correctly, right? So there's a lot of legal things. There's a lot of big documents, and we're almost attorneys when it comes down to contract time, right? When we're signing contracts and filling out what it's going to cost you. There's 30 different ways that a buyer can back out of a contract, right?
Yeah.
There's 3 to 5 for a seller. Very little for a seller, right? So buyers are definitely the ones that are protected in those contracts, but you got to know how to use them, right? You got to know when you can pull this card or when you can pull that card. You got to know that if an emergency comes up, you can pull this card last second, right? Yeah. So there's those things. Contracts would be the second big thing. Then obviously inspections, right? And then having a list of connections, right? Of reliable resources, handymen, HVAC techs, right? Roofers, people like that, people that are going to help in those cases that you need a quote or situations like that, right? And then there's getting it to the closing table, right? Yeah. So getting it to the closing table is having funding and making sure the transaction navigates correctly and making sure that when they need this done, you get it scheduled, right? So there's that whole process of it. And then there's after, right? A good realtor, it's not just a transaction. It's not just that one transaction. It carries on after that, right?
Yes.
So I'm reaching out to you to remind you to sign up for homestead exemption, right? Which gives you a discount on like your taxes, right? It'll cut you some costs when you're paying taxes or what you're paying for that, right? I'm reaching out to let you know, hey, service your HVAC, right?
Yeah.
Because if you do that twice a year, if you don't do it twice a year, now 3 years down the line, you're paying $5 to $7 grand to replace your HVAC, right? Yep. So just little things like that. There's a lot of little tweaks where you just want to make sure that you know what you're doing. Majority of the time, that's why it's good to have a realtor, because we do it on a day-to-day basis, right? We see it, we know how it goes. It's easy for us to kind of be able to give you the time frames because that's all we're thinking about.
Exactly.
Real estate all day.
Okay, cool. So hopefully that is enough for you guys as far as what the steps are. Obviously, go do your own research. Don't just take our words for it. But we've given you the foundation now. You now have the foundation. Hopefully we've eased some discomfort or, some stress off of you. And you're able to be a little bit more confident in going forward with the process as a young adult. So
yeah, definitely. I do want to add something real quick too, though. So like with the your main things you want to check for is you want to make sure that you have consistent income, right?
Yeah.
You want to make sure that you have it. It's about 2 years. Like I said, reach out to a lender. You don't, just because you reach out to a lender doesn't mean they're going to sell you and run your credit. They can still do the whole process and guide you, right? So you want to make sure you have consistent income. So that's the main thing. And then credit score. Work on your credit, work on your debt, right? How much you're paying in debt, those kind of things. Those are your two most important parts. Other than that, man, then it's the fun part. Then it's finding the location and what suits your needs, what you like, stuff like that. So
okay, cool. And in your experience over the past 2 years, on average, how long has it taken for people to find their homes?
Man, it can vary.
It can vary.
It can
okay,
vary.
Cool.
I've had clients reach out to me and we're into something within a month.
Wow.
Man.
Really?
Yeah. And I have a client that is under contract now currently that I've been working with since probably March, right? I've had him since March, and it's it's been a process, right? It just depends sometimes because you can never time it. Yeah. You can never time it. You never know. It's one of those things that it's not like just looking for a green couch, right? You see the same green couch everywhere. With real estate, every house is different. Yeah. Every house is different. So it's one of those things that it's hard, man. Mm-hmm. I remember with this one client I had just recently, we found a house that they were looking for something kind of similar, the investment kind of thing, right? Well, we found this house that was really underpriced and the sellers needed to sell it. He was moving from here to South Carolina, right?
Ooh,
so yeah, he just needed to get out of it. So we found it. We noticed it was underpriced. Now, keep in mind, the house wasn't pretty, right? It's not your move-in ready homes. The move-in ready homes are always the ones that everyone jumps on, right?
Exactly.
This house needed carpet work. It needed flooring work, right? It needed some paint on the walls. Well, clients that I had wanted to do a little bit of an investment kind of thing, right? turns out once it became appraisal time, right? I was telling them that they're getting a good deal as far as the price per square foot and how much the home was listed at. I was telling them it was a good value, right? No, they were a little skeptical, right? Because I'm a realtor and I'm a
Of
salesman, and
course.
you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I'm just blowing smoke, right? So
Yeah.
that's what everyone thinks. And then of course, he asked me, he's like, look, my fiance's parents are getting on me. They don't believe that we know what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, cool. Well, I promise you it's a good deal. Trust me with it. And then sure enough, once appraisal time came, they got the house 40K under. 40K under what they should have paid for it, right?
Yeah.
What it should have been worth. That's considering the repairs, all that stuff, right? So even if they were to put 10 to 15K into it, they still have 15, 20K in equity already sitting there, right? That's unheard of. Those
Yeah.
are things that don't happen, but that's the kind of thing that can happen if it's just it's just divine sometimes. Sometimes it just pops up.
That's
It
good.
works out that way. So
That's good. I like that. And I'm excited for this next question. Go ahead. You about to
you're
say
good.
something?
No, you're
Okay.
good.
I'm excited about this next question. How do you feel about your first house being your dream house? Should people get a starter house just like people get starter cars before go through the process, get your feet wet, quote unquote,
Yeah.
live in it for a couple years, and then get your dream house or however long it takes? What's your thoughts on that?
I feel it varies by person, right?
Okay.
Not everyone's into investing
Yeah.
is the thing, right? Some people do just want to get one house and live in it for 60 years, right? Which is cool if that's what you want to do. But if you're trying to do the path of financial freedom and just the smarter path with it, there's different strategies,
Okay.
right? You want to do something that suits your needs, that you're not overpaying for, right? That you're not paying a crazy amount. For example, sometimes I get clients that do want those move-in ready homes. Well, those move-in ready homes sell for more, and it's a little harder of a process, right? It's a little more competitive sometimes. So I think personally, if you are young and you're around our age, right, and you're just getting into your first home, you have time.
Yeah.
Right? You almost want, in my opinion, you almost want something that needs a little bit of work, because then you can do a thing called forced appreciation, right? You can update the house, right? If you change the floors from the dirty carpets and the nasty painted walls, right, or an ugly paint color on the walls, well, now you change them to a light gray that sells, and now you got a luxury vinyl flooring, which is something that everybody loves nowadays, right?
Yeah.
You do those two fixes, well, now you just added 20, 30K in value to your home just off simple fixes like that, right? So you don't want something that's so new that it loses value, right? Does that make
Gotcha.
sense?
Yeah.
So there's a thing we say in real estate, and it's mostly when you get like pools and stuff. So you want to keep up with the Joneses, but you never want to be the Joneses. You don't want to be the first one to do it, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. I like that. And what's your opinion on duplexes? Because I've heard some people
That's good.
talk about, okay, let's do the duplex. But
Yeah.
why not get a single family and just get a roommate?
Most definitely.
Or like you were saying, just remodel, add a wall up in
Yeah.
some cases,
Yeah.
and now you got a duplex after the remodel.
Yeah. So the thing with duplexes, and you hear a lot of that, that's kind of my niche. That's what I love to like do, is the whole rental side, right? Because I think renting is it's passive income, right?
Yeah.
It's passive income. If you can build a real estate portfolio of rentals, it's consistently going to bring passive income in, right? People are always going to need a place to live, regardless of what happens in the world, right? The thing with duplexes and multifamily homes is they're so hard to find in Dallas, and there's so many big capital and big sharks that, man, they buy them up as soon as they hit, if they're anything good of a deal. So you got to get a little bit creative, right?
Yeah.
If you're talking, for example, house hacking, rent by the room's probably the best thing, right? Take that sacrifice. Live in a 3 or 4 bedroom house, sleep in one room of it, and rent out the other 3 rooms. Majority of the time, you will profit off that. If you don't profit off it, you're not paying no rent.
Exactly.
Which is profit at the end of the day, right? All of us, majority of us, if you have your own apartment, stuff like that, you're spending over $1,500 a month in rent.
Yes.
So just cutting that expense down to zero, imagine how much money you'd be freed up. You didn't have to pay rent.
Yeah.
Life would be.
Golly.
So I think you have to get a little more creative. I think it's usually a little better. A good thing, too, that I see a lot is additional dwelling units. So it's a garage, right?
Yeah.
Find a house with a garage that's been converted into a studio, right? Live in the studio, rent out the main house.
Yeah.
Right? Because now the main house is what you're paying the mortgage for. But if you're living in this little 1 bedroom, 1 bath studio on the side house, your tenants are living here. They're paying the mortgage. You're living here for free.
Literally.
Right? So then when you decide to move, now you can get somebody in that studio. Now you got two, right?
Yeah.
Now you're profiting. And if you weren't profiting already, now you're profiting. You know what I'm saying? So and when you talk Dallas, man, a 1 bedroom here goes for 1,100, right?
Yeah.
Even in the worst places, it's gonna go for 1,100. So I just feel like the numbers meet very well with how good Dallas's economy is. So
That's good.
yeah.
So would you advise? How do you feel about condos? But like, it doesn't. To me, it doesn't make sense. I mean, I don't have money like that,
Yeah.
so that's why it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to
Yeah.
me. But to buy a home up in the sky, like you don't
Yeah.
have your own yard, you don't have all these different, like you don't have a home, in my opinion. How
Yeah.
do you feel about condos?
I don't do the condo market. I know some realtors do, and they could probably speak on this a little better than me. In my opinion,
Yeah.
I don't think it's a smart investment.
Okay.
Right? It's because you don't own you own the unit, but you never own the property
Yes.
or the entire thing, right? There has been times there's a big developer, I can't think of his name. He's in downtown Dallas. He does some Trammell, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But man, there was times in downtown Dallas where he tore down condos and he's building skyscrapers, and he bought people out 3 times what their home was worth, right, on a condo.
Golly.
But
Yeah.
in my opinion, I don't think it's a good investment because that's a 1 in 100 chance that something like that happens, right? And then the way that condos appreciate and stuff, it's not a single family home. It's this, you're living the same lifestyle as a apartment, right?
Literally.
So it's like, so my opinion, I'm not too big on them. At the end of the day, it is still an asset, right,
Yeah.
rather than a liability. So it's better than renting. But I'm not a condo guy.
Okay.
Yeah, because I also don't like someone being able to tell you what you need to do with your property, right?
Yes.
You buy a house and they decide that they're gonna change the color of the walls, or they're gonna do this, or they're gonna add this in the facility, and now it's gonna be, say, a dog park, or you know what I'm saying, something.
Yeah.
It's just like you have no control over the land and the things that you can do. So in my opinion, I'm not a big fan on them.
Okay, got you. Yeah, and just to be clear, I just wanted his opinion on it. You know, I'm not against or for it. I'm not even at that level yet, so I can't. You know, I've never been in one, so I just wanted your opinion, another opinion on it, because it just never really made sense for me to buy a condo. Maybe
Yeah.
rent if I have
Yeah.
excess funds like that. Cool, but like you said, like the only thing you can control barely is what's within those 4 walls.
Right.
And
And most people do it. See, my thing with Dallas, when you say condos, there's condos that are like apartment condos, and then there's luxury downtown skyscraper condos. And it's all a lifestyle thing. I'm not, man, I tried luxury apartment locating at one point in my career. That wasn't my thing because I didn't feel I couldn't get on track with it. I didn't
Yeah.
feel like it was a smart investment.
Mm.
People paying $5,600 to live in a skyscraper downtown. I'm like, man, you're spending $5,600 to rent in a skyscraper. Sure, you get the views and it looks cool and stuff like that, but man, $5,600. You know what kind of house you could buy for $5,600?
The boomerangs get old, bro.
Right, I'm telling you. It's like, man.
Instagram stories get old, bro. Oh
Yeah.
man. Okay,
So
I got you. And oh, my mind went blank. What are those homes? Those all those homes that look alike? Community,
tiny homes, townhomes,
not townhomes.
townhomes.
Like they almost have the same build. They look the same
Yeah.
in this one neighborhood. Like,
Yeah.
how do you feel about that?
townhomes give you a mix of both, right?
Okay.
You own a little bit of land, but you're also I think that's a little more when you're in a congested areas where
Okay.
you see them, right? If you need to be in a location, you see people that work for Goldman Sachs, right, and need to be downtown Dallas, right? Then it might be a little better. In my opinion, I think a townhome's a smarter investment than a condo, right? 'Cause,
Yeah.
like, at least you own half the house. You own the entire thing, but you own half of it, right? So, and that has some value. You have a yard, right? It's a certain type of people thing. I think if you're a family person, you plan on having a family. I'm not too crazy on them. So,
Okay.
yeah. I'm big on single family. That's my thing.
Yeah.
I like single family. I like just give me a plot of land and a house on it. That's it. So New Mexico, where I was from, it's just like it's a total different thing. All of our houses, even our cheaper houses, have half an acre, right? So being out here is like all y'all's lots are, Dallas lots. They're all small. They're all
Real
close
small.
together. So it's just like I'm big on having a yard. And I don't see you want a house with a yard. That's my thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nah, I agree 1,000%. Have your own yard.
It's a-
Do what you want in your house.
whatever.
I'm not a fan of HOA. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Telling people you gotta cut your bushes down.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, let's go and start wrapping it up. What's the best piece of advice you can give our listeners?
Let's see. So my first thing would be don't allow other people to define who you are and what you can or can't do, right? So like a lot of people allow other people to, and I do this myself. Sometimes I allow people to tell me what I can and can't do or the moves that I can and can't make.
Yeah.
In terms of buying a house, in terms of starting a career, starting a new venture, if you're getting that pull in your spirit and inside of you to make a move in a direction, you got to know who to talk to about those things, right? Because people can very easily talk you out of your own dreams, and you know in your chest what is right for you. You know in your heart what is right for you, right? So follow I was going to say follow your heart, which is correct, but
Yeah.
follow what you feel and what you know is right? And if if they're giving you advice because it's in the wrong direction or it's something that's maybe not morally correct or you're going on the wrong path, sure, you can take that advice, but I wouldn't say don't let other people's drink because they might not understand your vision, right?
Exactly.
People don't always understand what you see, right? Even with me in real estate specifically, man, I hit times where people were telling me, man, just quit. Like, you haven't made no money yet. Just
Yep.
quit, right? And in me, I knew that it was just time, right? I knew that I was playing the long game, right? I knew that I'm in this for the long haul. I'm in this for the 5-year business plan and not the 1 or the 2-year business plan, right? I knew what I was getting into. So when people were telling me to quit or this and that, it never fazed me. It always just brushed off, right? I think that relates in anything, whether you're chasing your dream, your athlete, work, whatever it is, whatever you're trying to do, trust your gut and trust in what God has placed inside of you and the path he's taken you on. So,
I like that.
yeah.
That was really good. I heard this quote where it was like, in order to be an overnight, or it takes 5 years to become an overnight success.
Yeah.
And it's like, to add on top of that, it's like, if you think about it 5 years from now, God willing,
Right.
you're guaranteed to be 5 years older.
Right.
Like,
Right.
there's
Right.
no other way around it. So if no matter what, you're going to be 5 years older, what other difference is there going to be in your life?
Right.
And that's for people, oh, it's going to take too long. Oh, this, all that. I'm already doing this career. I'm already here. But it's like, in the next 5 years, you could completely change your whole situation.
Yeah.
And like, I put that into my own perspective. I'm like, I've been doing this for 2 years. If this is true, like 3 more years, like that's it.
Yeah.
And I
right.
constantly improving, like constantly doing my thing. And Lord knows what happens. Like, oh, that's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy to stay motivated for me.
For sure. Yeah.
For me to keep pushing on, because it's like I've already made it past the average podcast stops after I think it's like 3 or 5 episodes. I'm like,
Right.
I'm on season 3, let
we're
alone
good with
3
that.
episodes. So it's like I'm well past that. And so I'm along the same path as you. Is like, it's just a matter of time. Like winning and losing is the same exact thing.
That's it.
You're going to take L's. That's literally it. The losers just quit.
Exactly.
That's it.
That's the thing. You just can't quit. You just can't quit. You just cannot give up. And the funny thing with it too, like even with me, is the risk. Man, I've never even seen. What's funny is other people have always seen me as a risk taker. For me, I've never seen it as that, right?
Yeah.
But my brother told me this when I first started sales, right? When he first convinced me to jump into sales, he told me, Angelo, man, I was working at Walgreens at the time, right? I was a manager at Walgreens, right? To my family, I was successful. To my family, this was, you got a career. Like, you're good. Take the route, sit there for 25 years, you're good. Like, just chill. You'll be good. 401k, whatever. My brother told me the worst thing that can happen by you taking a chance and moving out here is even if you fall on your face in 6 months, you can always go right back to where you were.
Always go right back.
You can always go right back. You never lose farther than where you were. You always fall right back to that spot where you were. Where you set that cap, now it's there. So why not take a chance?
Yes.
Why not take a shot at it? Because you never know. All it needs is it to work.
That's it.
Whether it's by accident, whether it's by chance, luck, whatever it is, right? All you need is that one chance. All you need is that one time for you to hit and that one person to trust you and that one person to believe in you or that one podcast episode to blow up and now you're set, right?
Exactly.
That's it. It just takes that one time. It's like
good.
they say. Just, man, yeah.
That's good. That's good. I want to keep adding to it, but I'll say this. I think, and what I'm coming to find out is successful people are more curious than average and unsuccessful people.
Yeah.
And I think that's the common denominator. That's the base. Like, that's all it is. And I feel like I'm going to harp on this, especially after I make it, because it's going to be like, hey, I've been telling y'all this since, before. But it's just like, are you curious enough? Once you fail, yes, the failure comes. And then it's like the curiosity part of it is, why did I fail?
Right.
How do I get around this failure next time it comes around? And how do I persevere through it?
Right.
And it's like, okay, I'm not getting enough listeners. How do I get more listeners?
Right.
And that curiosity just kicks in and is like, okay, let me figure this out. Let me do some more research so we can get this done. And I honestly think that's all it comes down to.
Yeah, I think it's important that when you hit these situations or these times where you fall flat on your face, right? I think the biggest thing that makes the difference between someone being successful or not being successful is they look inside, right?
Yeah.
You look at, what am I doing wrong, right? For me, anytime, man, I've had so many just without this 2-year span and just with this 2-year span that I've been in real estate, I've had so many situations where I've hit a brick wall, right? And I'm just like, man, I have no clients. What is going on, right? And it's so easy, right? Because they say now is the hardest time to join the real estate market, right? Because of the interest rates and everything that's going on. But realistically, the only reason that works is if you allow that to happen, right? If it's a bad time, if you allow that to affect you, it's going to affect you. You can't be a victim to the circumstances, right? It might be a hard time. You might have to work way harder. But when times clear up and it's a good time, now you're really going to see the fruits, right?
Yeah.
I've had times just in the last 2 years, when I actually hit the top producer situation that you mentioned earlier, right before that, I had a breakdown. Man, I legitimately remember, it's crazy. I legitimately remember sitting in the car with my girlfriend, right? And this is when everyone else is telling me to quit. And I'm like, nah, I'm not going to quit. But for the first time in my career, I broke down and I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I can't do this no more. I want to quit, right? I remember sitting there and actually like breaking into tears and everything over the business. I'm just like, I'm giving up. I can't do it no more, right? What's funny is she didn't let me, right? She held me down. And then it's like, after that was when my business really took off. That's when that's when it happens every time. It's like once you hit that bottom, that hole that you're ready to quit and you're done. It's God blesses you. God takes care of you. You know what I mean? Things happen. So yeah, it's crazy.
Good. I'm taking notes for the next episode. I'm sorry. I'm declaring that we're having another episode without even asking for it yet. So
Let's do it.
hopefully he's down because
Let's
I'm
do it.
already writing down questions for the next episode. Because this was just too good, and we just don't have enough time to for me to ask any more questions. But thank you so much, Angelo, for taking your time to come up here and record the episode. It was a great conversation. I feel like the listeners got a lot of value from this conversation, and I think we could definitely provide a lot more value.
Yeah, for sure. Man, thank you for having me, bro. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for staying consistent too. I know my schedule gets a little
Bro.
iffy sometimes, but
No,
we
you
made
were
it. We're
good,
here.
man. We definitely
We're
made
here.
it. We got it done, and I'm excited for what life has planned for you, what God has planned for you, and we'll definitely go from there, brother.
I appreciate you, bro. Let's
All
do
right.
it.
So we gave y'all the blueprint, fam. We told y'all what to do. We told y'all how to, get ready, get prepared for buying a home, some of the process, things to look for in a realtor, things to watch out for, all these good things. And we also touched more on the entrepreneurial side and all that stuff. And we definitely going to touch a little bit more on that side later on. But if you're gaining value, definitely hit the subscribe button, definitely hit the follow button, definitely donate to the podcast, all that good stuff. I will see y'all in the next episode.
We'll see y'all.
Peace.